If you feel disconnected from your content, people will feel disconnected from your content too. There's a lot of people who currently are who you were 5 years ago. Your purpose comes from your pain. This is gonna fill you up forever. TJ.
Yo, Evan, what's up, man?
What's up, man? It's very bright. Where are you, man?
I just turned the lights on because it's just super dark. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I live in Perth, Australia. I've been following you for close to 5 years now, I think. Almost somewhere there.
I appreciate you, man. Australia in the house.
Yeah, Australia in the house. So I'll be coming to visit you in Canada soon, anyway. Yeah. Anyway,
wait until it's warmer. Wait, look at what we got in Canada right now.
Wow. And the thing is, I'm not a fan of the cold at all. And I live in Perth, and it's sunny, it's hot throughout the year. I live like 10 minutes away from the beach. I absolutely love it here. You should come and visit, eh?
Wait until August. Come in August. You'll be at home, but don't come right now.
My question is, a few years ago, I recovered from depression. I had depression for like 4 or 5 years, and I overcame that. And ever since then, motivating people who are dealing with a lot of mental health issues has been a passion of mine. So I speak to friends and whatnot. And I recently decided I'd, take it a step further and start motivating people on YouTube. No, not on YouTube, on Instagram. And I'm still trying to get my rhythm, still trying to get followers. Although I'm not focusing too much on followers, I'm just trying to get the message out there. My question to you is, when you started off, how did you maintain, what tips do you have for growing Instagram, number one? Number two, how do you maintain your authenticity and not just push out content for the sake of pushing out content? And also, any other tips that anything that you recommend?
How often are you putting out content?
At the moment, I anywhere from once a day to 2 to 3 times a day. But sometimes I find myself putting out stuff for the sake of putting out stuff, and I don't know. I don't know whether you've ever felt like this, but it doesn't feel authentic at times. Sometimes I'm in the mood, I'm in the groove, and everything's just coming out. But then sometimes it just stops, and I've got writer's block. I'm struggling, and
So if you feel disconnected from your content, people will feel disconnected from your content too.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the most important thing. The opportunity for you, though, is you're writing for, when was the lowest point for you in your depression? How many years ago was it?
It was about 5 years ago.
Great. You're writing to who you were 5 years ago. And the thing is, that's real. Like, you went through that. You can go back there and remember what life was like at the lowest low in a way that I can't connect to, because as much as I had low points in my life, I never was on depression, right? But you were. And so you're creating content for the person who you were 5 years ago. And it's just connecting back to who that person was. Because you know what? A lot of the stuff, a lot of the rah-rah motivation, go live your best life stuff that you see on Instagram, you might connect with that now, but who you were 5 years ago, you wouldn't pay attention to any of that stuff. You wouldn't. But you have a unique ability to be able to connect to the person you were 5 years ago in a way that maybe I can't even connect with them. Like, I can listen and have empathy, but I can't give you specifically what to do because I haven't gone through that. But you have, and you can help. And there's a lot of people, like, even as you said depression, the chat just started saying, I have depression, depression sucks, anxiety sucks. There's a lot of people who currently are who you were 5 years ago. That's who you're talking to. So you have to get in the zone while you're creating the content. Now, whether you're creating the content with yourself with your own video, whether you're sharing a quote that you like, or a picture, a cartoon, or a sunset, or whatever, you have to feel it. And the way to feel it is, one, to think about who you were and what that person would need to see. And two, just go to Instagram and look at the comments and to put in depression and just see people's stories. Like most people, there's a ton of people who are struggling with depression.
Yeah.
And just seeing them struggle should give you some motivation to say, I want to create something for these people. Like, your purpose comes from your pain. This is going to fill you up forever. You're going to be 95 years old and still love helping people who are in a depressed state. Because if you can pull them out, it'll fill you up forever.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you're consistent, which is great. I love it. Like, once a day is a great bar. If you're doing 2-3 times a day, some days, that's great. A lot of people who are trying to do what you do, they're just not consistent. They're every day, and then it's once a week or every 2 weeks. They're just not doing it enough. So if you're doing once a day, it's great. Now you have to actually have great content once a day, fire content that gets you emotional. Because if it gets you emotional, it'll get other people emotional too. If you're checked out and you're just kind of posting because you're trying to beat the Instagram algorithm, people aren't going to care or watch or pay attention. So that's step one. The other thing I would love to do, I would love to see you do Instagram lives with people like this and help them get out of their depression, at least if only for the moment.
Okay.
I'd love for you.
Yeah.
How many people are following you on Instagram right now?
I think I'm on 600.
600, great.
Yeah.
You run a weekly show where you bring somebody on and you help them with their depression. And you have 600 people who know who you are right now. You do a video DM to them one at a time and say, hey, I want to do a show helping people who have depression. If that's you, I'd love to help you free of charge for 25 minutes tomorrow at whatever time. And some people, most people won't say yes because they're afraid to come on and being on the camera and all that. But you'll get 10 people out of 600 who will say, okay. And then for the next 10 weeks, you're on a Sunday night show helping people with depression. And then you'll build your brand to the point where you don't need to book guests anymore because people just know to come to your show every Sunday to watch you, and they'll raise their hand and say, pick me next. I think you would crush it, dude. You have to build the initial momentum around it to book your first guest. Even for me, when I first started on Instagram, I started taking it seriously. I want to say this maybe a year and a half ago, and I had like 4,000 followers or something. And when I went live, nobody showed up. And so I booked my first guest.
I was the only one who showed up. I remember those days.
2 people, nobody asking questions, right?
People. Yep.
How does this even work? But it's the thing that I'm great at is the consistency and the follow through, right? So if you booked your first 10 guests for the next 10 weeks, and you did it at the same time every day, every week, every Sunday at whatever time, people will learn to come back and watch it again and watch it again. And then they'll get the courage to raise their hand and say, hey, pick me. And what a gift, man, because one of the biggest things for people with depression is there's nobody to talk to who understands. But you can. Dude in Australia, helping people around the world, right?
Yeah, true.
So those 2 things, like, just fix your content, make sure it means something to you, gets you emotionally involved. And if you're not feeling it, then think back to who you were 5 years ago and just go and look up #depression and see all the suffering out there, and you'll see somebody that you can connect with. And then 2, a weekly show where you book your first 10 guests and you talk through helping them get out of their depression. And even if you don't have an answer for them on the live call. Like sometimes people worry, I don't know what to say. I don't know if I'm going to be able to help them. It's the stress of it being live. Even if you don't know what to tell them to do, just listening is value. Just letting them tell their story and having somebody who's actually listening and paying attention. Like you might be the only person in their life who's actually listening to them talk about what they're suffering through. That alone, even if you give zero advice, just listening will help ease a little bit of their burden. So that's value.
Well, that sounds powerful, man. Thanks a lot for that.
Cool, man. Make it happen. Cheering you on.
I will.
Good luck.
I will. Thank you. Say hi to Nina for me, eh?
I will. You said A like a Canadian. I love it.
If you have a podcast or interview show and want me to be a guest on it, I have two options for you. There's a link right there next to me. Go click it, and I look forward to being a guest on your show.